Well, Lori Vallow had another hearing today. This one was a Zoom call and it was posted, and I have dissected this call. I'm going to give you my two bits about it. I've narrowed it down to just a few things, and the main thing that I want to be discussing today is the body language that we see during this Zoom call. Now, we have very few images of anything during the court proceedings because, of course, the court was a closed proceeding, so there was no video or cameras or anything in the courtroom. So we've only just been able to see with our own eyes. If you happen to go to the court on the day of the trial, which I did, and I've done a post about, I wanted to talk today about the court hearing that was just happened regarding Lori Vallow Daybell. Lori Vallow Daybell had another hearing today. She has been found guilty by the jurors, and her sentencing will be happening on Monday. But today there was a hearing regarding who a specific person, if they're going to be able to do a victim impact statement before her sentencing. This has to do with Tammy Daybell. Now, of course, for those that don't know, Tammy Daybell is the wife of Lori's fifth husband, who was found dead, and she was found guilty of conspiracy to commit murder. So there's, in the state of Idaho, there's very few people that can give victim impact statements. Now, a lot of states have different laws, different regulations, but in Idaho, you have to be a close family member. And so one of the people that would have been able to testify at the sentencing would be Tammy Daybell's mother. But she recently passed away, so she will not be able to give a victim impact statement, of course. So according to state law, there should be able to be someone who gives an impact statement in her place. And there's quite a few situations in this case where people are giving impact statements in place of somebody else because there's so many people who died, so they can't give their own victim impact statement. So this is all about whether or not Tammy Daybell's aunt, however you say it, will be able to give a statement. During the hearing, I went through and I pieced it all together so that there's quite a bit of things that's just lingo. So you know what the hearing was about and what the judge's ruling was for the hearing. So this video is so that you can watch her facial reactions to what was going on during the hearing. Now, we know that for the most part, I'm sure she's been trained by her attorneys, and everyone who is on trial should learn this, and that is to have a poker face. Poker face. You want to show no emotion one way or the other because it can be used against you in people's images, right? Well, there was a few times that there were just slight little micro expressions, and that's what I want to show you in this video today. I want you to see the micro expressions. I went ahead and shaved off anything that looks exactly the same. In fact, there were times when I was watching it that I thought my computer had frozen because I was seeing absolutely no reaction whatsoever, which good for her. That's what she's supposed to be doing. But sometimes there were little slips, and she showed her maybe what was going on in her mind, just little tiny micros, accidental grins, accidental head shakes, whatnot. So go ahead, watch this video, and I'll give you my thoughts. And all I can say is we're down to the wire now. Monday is the day when the sentencing will come forward, and I will give you a full rundown of everything that I find out during the sentencing. So now let's watch some video.
To prepare for this hearing, and representing the state, Rob Wood and Lindsay Blake. Mr. Archibald represents the defendant who is present here, and Mr. Thomas well. We are, as I mentioned, live streaming this and also keeping a record through the court reporter that's present. Court's received and reviewed the motion. Just inquire first of counsel, Mr. Archibald, are you ready to proceed and offer argument in support of the motion?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, and who will be arguing on behalf of the state? Is that you, Ms. Blake?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Blake, are you ready to proceed as well?
Yes.
Okay. The court would note that the sentencing is scheduled for Monday in this case, and ahead of sentencing, the court's received requests through certain people to offer victim impact statements as permitted by Idaho Code Section 195306, the Victims' Rights Statute, as well as the Idaho Constitution, Article 1, Section 22. There's been a request to have a hearing to discuss whether or not some particular people would qualify under those provisions. And so, Mr. Archibald, I've reviewed your motion. If you'd like to argue in support of the motion at this time, you can do so.
Thank you, Your Honor. As the motion indicates, a person by the name of Vicky Hoban, I don't know if I'm saying that right, but she has petitioned the court to be considered a victim as she is Tammy Daybell's aunt. I think the court initially denied that, not knowing who she was, and then reconsidered and granted it. I think the court granted it partly because we didn't know who on behalf of Tammy Daybell would speak. Now that the submitted a statement has been in Ron Douglas's statement, he specifically says that he's writing. I don't think the law allows that. I think the law specifically excludes aunt. And so if Tammy Daybell had no one speaking on her family's behalf, that I think the court's current order would be appropriate. But now that Tammy Daybell's sister and father have now spoken, and Tammy Daybell's father specifically stating, I'm writing on behalf of myself and my now deceased wife, I think that there's no provision for the court to consider an aunt as a victim able to speak on behalf of the Tammy Daybell family. So I know she's interested in the case. I don't know her personally. I don't have anything against her. I'm merely asserting the law, and the law, I believe, does not allow this. So I'd ask the court to reconsider or amend its order prohibiting a victim impact statement from Vicky Hoban. I see that after I filed this motion, we actually received her statement, though it is now submitted to the court and would need to be stricken. I don't have anything else.
Thank you, Your Honor. The state does recognize that anytime we're dealing with victims' rights, oftentimes there are some unique issues that come up because we have a statute, we have the considered victims with regard to a homicide. I think an analysis in determining who would be able to and who wouldn't be able to. So the state recognizes that there are some individuals that would consider themselves victims that have not been allowed to make a statement. I think there are a lot of interested parties in this case, a lot of individuals that have suffered some form of harm in whatever form that may be from the acts that occurred in this case. With regard to this particular motion, I think the state is really without a legal basis to make any kind of an objection or argument one way or the other. So on this issue, we will simply leave it to the court's discretion while we recognize that this is a somewhat a matter of first impression to at least some degree. We'll leave it to the court's discretion for that determination.
All right, so to clarify, Ms. Blake, you're not stipulating to me granting the motion, is that correct? You're just arguing that you don't believe you have grounds to object to it, or I guess I do want to further kind of pin you down on your on the state's position is not permitted. And I'll note that, and so some of the Idaho case law is more stringent, I think, in a capital case where the jurors make the ultimate determination. I do believe the case law supports that a trial court judge has some broader discretion in considering relevant and pertinent information for sentencing or statutory language that makes the appointment of a designated representative mutually exclusive. And I do think this is probably a case of first impression in Idaho. I am going to deny the motion and allow that Vicki Hoban's statement may be considered as a victim impact statement. Not that she's the victim, but she is the designated appointed representative of Tammy Daybell's mother, who is now deceased. And so in the absence of any other authority that's been cited to the court or any statutory language, I don't believe it's error to permit that statement to be made. I will, however, leave it up to the discretion, of course, of the prosecution as to whether or not you think she should make any further comment or statement at the sentencing hearing, or whether the court would consider the addendum to the PSI, which was submitted as a written statement, which I do consider to be permissible given this analysis. So the ruling is I am going to deny the motion and will permit her as a designated representative to provide a statement in support of sentencing. That'll be the ruling then on the motion. Unless there's any questions from council, I think that will conclude the matters we needed to argue this morning. Mr. Archibald, anything further from the defense then this morning?
No.
All right. Does the state have anything further to bring out, or estimation of what's going to occur? Like you think we'll be able to conclude that in a one-day hearing? Let me start with maybe you, Mr. Wood.
Yes, Your Honor. I believe we'll be able to be one day.
All right. Mr. Archibald or Mr. Thomas, do you think we're able to get sentencing concluded in a day?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I appreciate your input on that. We don't need to necessarily stop at the end of normal business hours if it's going to take longer. I just think it becomes a lot more planning necessary and interferes with other calendared issues if we go further. So we will plan on starting on time, and I'll see counsel then in court this Monday for sentencing.
So what do you think? Were you able to gather anything from her little micro expressions? I thought it was interesting. I mean, mostly we didn't get much, but I thought it was interesting when the judge said sentencing should be able to happen in one day, and it seems like she was saying, I don't know what that means either. I don't know. What do you think it means? Do you think it means anything, or it's just like a sort of a reaction? And oh, this is the one thing that I keep on wondering. Will she make a statement? I go back and forth. She has said nothing. The last time she said anything other than just to the judge to say, yes, I understand, or no, or whatever, mostly she's just let her attorney speak for her. And everything that we've heard has been from recordings or audio or whatever, phone calls, from jailhouse phone calls. But the only public statement that she has made throughout this whole entire thing was when Nate Eaton had the camera and the microphone in her face saying, a lot of people are praying for you, and she said, that's nice. That's the last word, and that's been a lot of years ago. Will she keep her mouth shut? If I was to guess, I'm not going to give you my guess. I'll tell you my guess right before the sentencing. How about that? Because I don't want to influence what you all think. But tell me, what do you think? Will she testify? It's not even testify. Will she give a statement before she is sentenced? It'll be interesting to see. Comment below and let me know what you think. And I will for sure see you on Monday.